Starting to sleep train may feel like the next right step, but if you're not ready, it's not going to be pretty. So in this video today, I'm going to walk you through my sleep training readiness checklist so you know if you're ready for this big transition. But first, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming YouTube content. So before we jump into this readiness checklist, let's talk about what reasons you would have for wanting to sleep train in the first place. The number one reason that I see people wanting to sleep train is that their current sleep habits are unsustainable. So maybe your child needs to be bounced 50 times on the yoga ball before they fall asleep, and you know you cannot continue doing that day after day, month after month, etc. That may very well be a reason to sleep train for you. Another reason that you may choose to sleep train is if you know your child is suffering. They're not getting the sleep they need and they are struggling as a result. Another very valid reason, maybe your child is content and happy, but you yourself are struggling. You are not getting the sleep you need. You are not able to be the parent you want to be. That is another very valid reason to choose sleep training. Another reason, sometimes children are resisting the help that you are providing to sleep. So maybe you've been nursing your child to sleep for months and months and it's been going great, no issues. And now all of a sudden your child is resisting, they're not falling asleep, they are, and as soon as you transfer them, they're waking up. That may just be your child fighting this help to fall asleep. And so until we make this change and teach them to fall asleep on their own, they are going to continue to struggle. So this would also be a very good reason to choose to sleep train. This last reason probably goes without saying, but if you are experiencing lots of night wakings, early morning wakings, or short naps, sleep training can absolutely help to improve those sleep issues. So now that we've talked about why you might sleep train, let's jump into that readiness checklist. Number one on my checklist is how old is your child? Now, contrary to popular opinion, there is not a magical age where you can suddenly sleep train, okay? But the way that we handle sleep and the sleep training process is absolutely going to differ if we're talking about a newborn or a baby or a toddler or a preschooler, okay? So while I am not saying that you cannot sleep train a newborn, I am saying that we're going to approach it very, very differently. And in fact, if we're talking about a newborn, anyone under the age of 3 to 4 months, we are going to be taking things very, very slow, very gradual. It is all about just practice and exposure, but not expecting a ton out of our newborn. So we're not going to do full-on hardcore sleep training with our newborns, but we absolutely can work towards better sleep habits from day one. Okay, so if you are looking for official sleep training and wanting to move a little quicker than a snail's pace, you will want your child to be above 3 to 4 months of age before you begin. Number two on the checklist is, how do you feel about your current sleep situation? Because sometimes parents feel like they need to change their sleep situation when really deep down inside, they're happy with where it is. Could it be better? Maybe. But are you happy with how it's going? Then there's no reason to sleep train. You only need to sleep train if you are unhappy or don't feel safe or don't feel comfortable with your current sleep situation. So do a little deep dive into what you really think. And if you are really ready or your family is really ready, then it may be time to sleep train. Number three, how do you feel about your child expressing emotions around the changes you're making, aka crying? Okay, let's just say it. There is going to be crying during the process. That is just unavoidable. I'm not a big believer in the no cry sleep training options because I just don't know many children that would actually work with. I feel like it's more of a marketing ploy. So it is normal and natural for your child to be frustrated with any type of change you're making, whether we're talking about sleep or otherwise. And the way they express their frustration is usually through crying. So how do you feel about that? Are you comfortable with that? What I will tell you when I work with families, I use a range of methods to help them learn to sleep on their own. And some methods, they may be very hands-on in the room the whole time, comforting the whole time. Other methods, they may leave the room and then come back and check and then leave again. So there's a range here of how you can respond, but none of these options are going to guarantee that your child won't have emotions and that they won't express them. So you need to do a little digging about how you feel when it comes to emotions and decide if that's a deal breaker for you. Number 4 on the checklist, are you on the same page as your partner? If you have a partner, are you on the same page with them? Okay, because when you're going through this process, it is going to be a process. It is not going to be easy breezy, and you need someone who is going to support you and someone who is on your team and helping you stick with your plan. And if you have someone instead who is undermining you or who just doesn't understand what you're trying to do, you need to get them on board beforehand. Okay, it is very hard to make these big changes if you don't have that support and instead you have an adversary trying to come against you. So if you're not on the same page, sit down, have a one-to-one chat with them about what you are struggling with, how you feel. And let me tell you a trick. If your partner is not currently involved in the sleep process, if they're not handling most of the night wakings, if they're not handling most of the naps, and they're against sleep training, pull them in to help more. And I think you'll find that after they realize and walk a mile in your shoes, yes, we need to make changes. I see that time and time again happen. So have a heart-to-heart, ask if you can pull them in more to help, and then make them help more. And I think that they will probably have a change of heart. Okay, number 5, are you ready for it to get a little worse before it gets better? And I know this may be a very tough pill to swallow because right now you're thinking, can it get worse than it is right now? It's terrible. But yes, it is temporarily going to get worse as you start the sleep training process. It will get infinitely better when you get through it, but it's going to get worse at first. And so if you just don't have the bandwidth right now to deal with that, maybe this is an especially stressful time at work, or maybe you have another child at home that is struggling, that's okay. You can always revisit later when you have more bandwidth to deal with that, but just knowing that it will get worse before it gets better helps you be more prepared for the process. And the final point on our checklist, are you ready to devote a chunk of time to this sleep training process? It is not going to be over within a day or two unless you have a magical unicorn baby, which most of us don't. Hi, that's me. I did not have magical unicorn babies. But you need to have, I would say, 2 weeks minimum set aside to make these changes. And maybe it goes a lot quicker than 2 weeks. That would be great. But if it doesn't, we need to be prepared. So you want to have time to make your child's schedule your number 1 priority, okay? And you want to be able to have them in their ideal environment as much as possible during that 2-week time. We don't want to be gone for a bunch of appointments or traveling or having visitors over who may not be supportive of your sleep training process. So look at your schedule and see where you can mark out 2 weeks or as close to 2 weeks as possible to address these changes. Now, if you feel like you might be ready to start, but you're feeling really overwhelmed about where you can even begin, I have linked below in the show notes my scheduler. So you can get on my scheduler, we can talk through and see if moving forward is the right step. Now, this is not a sales call, but this is a chance for us to talk about your sleep situation and see if we would be a good fit to work together. If you've got any questions about this video today, feel free to comment below. I would love to see what you have to say. And if you yourself have already been through the sleep training process before, I would love to see you comment below and just give some encouragement to anyone who might be thinking about going that way. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys.